All right. So then, back to my still face, as well as drawing. So, first things first, I think I just need to get the face details down on this, and then I can begin coloring. I was looking at things a bit before I started streaming, and I also did... Let's see, there's a second tab up here. I also did a bit of a sketch out of... what is it? Kuroboshi's art book. I managed to get that sketch done in roughly 10 minutes. So I don't know what I was doing the entirety of last stream that took me this long. Alright, so, a couple of major points to address. Hair is going to change quite a bit. See, it sort of comes down here, and the bun should be around here. And then after that, I can start working on details, like the frills and the arm sleeves, and then work in coloring after that. But as I think I can just get started on hair details at this point. Okay. Okay, I am on outline layer. I think... I can try doing this on the outline layer without a sketch to follow. Of course, I am attempting to sketch on the outline layer now at this point. So I'm doing very thick lines, but I'm still drawing in a very sketchy style. Alright. I feel like I should probably also draw from a specific point, but my mind wanders too frequently to focus so specifically on any one point. So I'm moving from the hair part to the bangs. I'm very bad at focusing. Okay. I actually want to zoom in on the face. So it's very hard to tell where the hair stops and the face begins. I'm assuming that it's just hair from here up. But like portions like this look like they could potentially be shaded face. There's obviously some gaps like in there. So it's not a solid bob. Yes, I was going to add those in details. Okay, so I'm going to move the hair bun down a bit. It's far further up on the head than I initially drew. It's around here almost. It starts right around the end of the bangs. Or not the bangs, but the largest bang here. It meets up right around the base of it. No, I shouldn't start adding in hairlines. That's something to do with coloring. Okay, I think I need to work on the perspective of this, so it's right around here. This is the base. And then moving up. Perhaps this should also have a lighter outline. Maybe this is something to come back and color later. Okay, let me just disappear the face sketch. Okay, that looks about proportionally accurate. Alright, back to the bangs. Because once again, I'm not focusing on any one thing at this point in time. Bangs are fairly wide. Let's see. Maybe if I get the center bang in, that can provide a guiding point for the rest of this. There we go. And now something that I am particularly struggling with fairly frequently, I have to deal with perspective causing things to appear smaller on the side facing away. Let's see. Let's bring this in a bit more so it involves the face. I think that's about what I want. Perhaps it's a bit too low, actually. No, because that side of the head's slightly lower down. It's difficult to tell. That also means this bang should be sort of curving around like this, I believe. Because it's curving around the head, it's not... Here, let's take a look at how hair looks on this. Okay. Whenever I come back over here, this picture reminds me of... what is it? The meme image of the person holding out a piece of food to an animal. I don't know how descriptive that is. Oh, you get it. I think it's the arm. I've made the arm a bit too long. Yes, the I owe you my life meme. So I feel like I've just made the arm too long, and because of that, it's a structural piece of the artwork as well, so it's not exactly something I can go and change at this point. It's very similar. So, potentially, if this doesn't work out, I can fall back on making bad meme artwork. Alright. So then I feel like some of meme art can be good, but some of it's intentionally bad. Alright, I feel like I can definitely improve on the eyes. And noses are a very difficult thing. Like, it's ever so slightly perspective, so you want a bit of definition on it. But noses are typically not given very much attention in anime-styled artwork. So it's very difficult to know which route I should take. It almost feels like the single line that I drew is already a bit much. However, your nose has a fair amount of definition, especially because you have, I'm assuming that's a mole or a beauty mark, or a freckle, something of the sort. So that's a detail that needs to be included, but drawing noses from side view is very difficult with this style. Yes. Okay, how does this look for a nose? I'm not going to get the rest of the face details. It's not that bad. I could probably do worse. I just drop that there. Alright. So, the eyes. Alright, I'm just going to do a full outline of the eyes and then get rid of the parts that don't have an outline afterwards, so that I can get the full structure down. Very almond-shaped. I think it's probably fine to be a bit more sketchy on the eyes, seeing how a lot of the detail is in what's not there. Okay. I think that's already looking a fair bit better. I went a bit too far out on that side with the eye. And now once again for perspective to rear its head. Morning, Aqua. The angle of my screen is making it very difficult for me to tell who you were. I noticed that name colors are not consistent, because when I refreshed my web page yesterday during my Overwatch stream, when my stream crashed, all of the colors of the names changed afterwards. Okay, that's looking a bit better. I think the shapes might be slightly off on that side. I guess your name is a very dark blue right now, Aqua. So it's It blends in very well with the dark gray background that it's on. Okay. Right, and for the other bun, it's going to want to be a bit more forwards. Yeah, name colors aren't consistent, so I have discovered. I feel like they are sometimes, because I remember I was once given the option to change the color of my name. But perhaps that is an affiliate thing? I'm not entirely sure. I'm still pretty unfamiliar with how Twitch works 100% of the time. Okay, figuring out. It's because of how I drew the hair. It's on the... It's on the outer edge of that, so it would still be past the line of perspective. Perhaps if I do this, add a little bit more definition. I think I need to bring this down. It's a bit... No, I can't. The shape of the head depends on it. Okay. I'm actually going to hide the face sketch because I don't actually need it anymore. I have all of the major details done. Okay, but now... there's a couple of small hair details that I can fill in. Okay. Time to get some very granular erasing in. Perhaps I should probably use a smaller eraser. And I don't need to use a harsh brush anymore. I swear there was an option here to change the severity of the brush. Or is that gone because I have pressure sensitivity? Doesn't look like it. Looks like it's still cutting hard lines. Yes. Subtools. Here we go. Is this what I'm looking for? Doesn't look like it. There's no options here. Let's see. Alright, I'm switching to mouse right now just to... No. That just lets me change the name of the tool for some reason. Yes, it used to be in this area. Hello, sad penguin. Welcome to the stream. Let's see. I wonder what section of settings might this be in? Because I know how to... There's a whole section in the text editor that lets you change so many various different settings that appear on the left-hand side of the bar. Maybe up here? I know you can't see the menus that I'm looking at, which is slightly unfortunate. Settings of subtool. Tool icon, direct draw. User setting. Oh no, that's not what I want at all. But rest assured that I am looking at menus, so it's marginally more interesting for me. Change order. Hide subtool palette. Did that happen? Oh, nope. That's not what I wanted. In fact, that removed options for me. Can I just Control Z? No, that doesn't undo menu changes apparently. Why is it that when I right-click on this and I bring up tool settings, all it brings up is the ability to change the name of the eraser? Let's see. Oh. Let's see, is it... Oh. Oh dear, I've removed it for everything. Okay, this actually has to get fixed or else I'm probably in some amount of trouble. Oh no. Ah, here we go. I feel like I may have made things infinitely worse right now. I've just hidden everything. I can't change the size of my brush anymore. This is a very interesting dilemma that I have put myself in. Quick window? Yeah. This looks like it's probably what I need. Is it workspace reset to default? Is that going to fix things, or is it going to delete everything I've done? That seems like it might help. But at this point, I'm starting to get a bit too nervous to do anything. Let's see, layer search, animation, cell timeline, material? No, that's not it. Okay, Windows or workspace reset to default. Following items will be reset to default layout of palette. Would you like to proceed? Hopefully. There we go. Yes, here we go. And I can switch that back. I wonder why that disappeared before. So now I won't have to worry about harsh lines when I'm erasing. That's much better looking. Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you, Aqua. And I would probably Google it, but who knows how long that would take. I swear one of these buttons is supposed to be color pick. Okay. Enjoy the rest of your day, Aqua. Have fun being an adult. Okay. Now I can finally finish this hair strand. And start thinning out some lines that don't need to be quite as thick as they are. Yes, now that my viewership is getting more regular with specific people more frequently showing up, I feel like I should be tailoring the times that I'm streaming around when people are awake, rather than when it's convenient for me. Or available, even. Because I typically just tend to stream whenever I have a free afternoon. Okay. See, there's probably a little bit of strand coming out on this side as well. Too much into it. Okay. So, judging from this, the image here. Ah, Ava unit, welcome back. See, I'm having the exact same issue where name color is clashing with the background quite a lot. Okay. I'm doing well. I'm doing fairly well. Right now I'm working on drawing of one of my followers, GSock, who is also following me on Twitter. They were one of two people who replied to my giveaway tweet for free art. See, the placement of this bun is going to be very difficult. It should be just around here, I think. I think that's good. Let me just get rid of the extra lines and I'll see. How I feel about it. I think maybe I just need to round out the top a bit more, make it less flat. Yeah, it's a bit lopsided. But other than that, I think the positioning is just about fine. I don't know. Perspective is a difficult thing to manage. By the way, GSock, if you have any pointers or recommendations for what I'm doing, feel free to speak up about them. It's looking a little bit better. Okay. So I think... Right, neck horn. So it looks like they come out like right around here. Because they go like out to the side, sort of like... If I could point it out on myself where I feel like it would be, it's... about the 45-degree angle towards the back of the neck. Like right at the halfway point of a 90-degree angle. If the 90-degree angle was the back and side of your neck. Does that sound about right? I could just draw. Like this feels like it's a bit too far forwards. Possibly a bit too high up as well. It almost feels like we shouldn't be able to see the connection point. It's a much further back of the neck. Oh, that's actually looking fairly good. Just need to get the thickness right. Yes, as I have previously said, I'm not very familiar with what is it, Korean culture, but I do remember a character from Tower of God having very similar horns. So I don't know if that's a... if that is some sort of cultural demon. Yes. I don't remember the names. It's been quite a while since I actually read Tower of God. I was reading it as it was releasing, and I think I fell off of the series. I specifically remember I fell off right around the part where they were getting on a death train or something like that. So whenever those chapters were releasing was about when I fell off of reading however frequently they released. It wasn't very frequently, which was the reason that I sort of fell off. A lot of the time when I... Yes, I've been meaning to, especially since the anime adaptation came out. You know what? I think I should make this arm a bit thinner. It's a bit wide. Every time I look at something, I just find something else that I want to go back and change. I don't know. How much can I edit this without having to draw a whole bunch of extra stuff? But also, how much thinner could I make the arm without making it appear spindly? I think the issue is that I got the initial posture just ever so slightly wrong. So the back is too straight, which leads everything else to being slightly elongated. Alright, but what happens if I do this, and if it doesn't look good, I can just go back and undo it. It curves at a slightly odd angle. But I think it overall looks somewhat better. I think the connection point at the elbow is also a big issue that I'm having. There should be a line of definition to show creases in the skin. Like this sort of thing. I feel like elbows do this. They have like these sort of lines in them. Should probably also stop making such small line adjustments when I'm trying to do line art. But I think that overall just looks slightly better. Zooming out. It sort of highlights the fact that the arm looks a bit like a tube instead of bones surrounded by flesh. Just looks like a rubber tube. Perhaps my style is actually Fleischmann cartoons instead of anime. And I don't have to worry as much about detail, I suppose. Okay. Remembering where to put my mouse, or my cursor rather, so that zooming in and out moves me around the page the way I want it to is very difficult. Because to move to the right, you need to zoom out on the left, and then you need to move to the right to zoom in on the right. I suppose I could just use the hand tool and move the canvas around manually. Okay, so I'm going to start working on details then. And to start off, I just want to get the parameters, and then I can draw in the curves later. So this. Okay, having this detail on the dress actually helps with perspective quite a lot. Okay. Once again, undoing is very difficult when you just draw in a bunch of very tiny lines. Okay. So, split occurs, actually, the split occurs around here. Yes, that definitely helps create a hard angle. Okay. That's about what I want it to look like, I feel, or what it should look like. Let's just try and solidify these lines. I'll erase the rough edges afterwards. Yes, I feel like I tend to do my best drawing off stream, very unfortunately. So I've only done 2 drawings off stream. And they've both turned out a bit better than what I work on stream. One of those was also when I was still using a mouse, so. I think I probably work better when I'm not talking about what I'm drawing. If I can just enter a fugue state and draw as a secondary action to talking, I feel like I do better. Because I tend to listen to other things while I'm drawing. I was listening to music earlier when I was working on the sketch that I showed at the beginning of the stream. It probably also helps when I'm working directly off of a model, which is what I was doing, and I don't make any adjustments from it. Okay. So now I can get rid of this. Okay, and now let's see. So do I want to do it on the outside or the inside? Probably on the outside. The perspective here should probably be a bit different. Let's work on this. Yes, it should be curving around the side. And moving closer to the vanishing point. Okay. Time to get some real granular erasing going on. Pressure sensitivity probably makes the biggest difference when erasing. Not that it's not useful for drawing, but it just feels so much better to erase with pressure sensitivity. Oops. I also hope that someday I'll be able to tell which button I need to press without looking down at my tablet. I'm getting better at it. Undo button's easy because it's at the top. But I fairly frequently forget which button is zoom in and which one's zoom out. Because they're sort of interlocking with each other. There, I can actually just draw the shape. It's sort of the yin-yang symbol. Like, that's zoom in on the top and that's zoom out on the bottom. I just frequently confuse the two. I don't know why. Okay. See, I just did it there. Okay, and I just want this to curve outwards slightly. Just so that it gives the impression of continuing the pattern. There we go. Let's see. And the laces and everything else are something that I will come back and do in color, because the outlines are either too thin to be seen or they don't have outlines, as well as the lace. That's probably going to be the biggest challenge. Ah, yes, and the stockings. I can just get the lines in. So, let's see. It's a side view. So it's going to be something like this. And these can have very thin outlines. I don't need to go too strong with them. I should also be clean about these lines as well. Oh. There's also probably a setting that I can change somewhere, but for some reason there is a pen setting, or a pen button, not a pen setting. But because of how it's set up, when I try and go from eraser to pen, it only brings me to the brush, and I can cycle through these three options here. But I can't get up to the pen that I normally use. So there's probably a setting somewhere to change that. And it would make my life a fair bit easier. I just haven't found the setting yet, or gone to the trouble of changing it. I changed the settings on my pen so that I have undo bound correctly, but I never use it anyways. I think I do at least. Oh, right, I have to have the pen close to the tablet for it to actually activate. It's very interesting. The pen doesn't have a charge. It's powered by its proximity to the tablet. So it's charged wirelessly. And I don't know if that's something that's standard with tablets, but I think it's very neat. I'll just do this so that I drawing a little tie. Actually, I can probably just draw it in myself right now. Should I do this in color? Since it doesn't really have an outline, the ties. I suppose I may as well. Alright, time to add a little bit of color. I'm very excited to actually get to coloring. I feel like coloring is where I get to put in the most details. Oh. There we go. Just get a little bit of red peeking between the fingers there. All right. Back to black now. Ah, I could have sworn there was a color pick button on the tablet, but I suppose not. Okay, so let's see. Next diamond. Oh, I'm still in color pick. The next diamond is potentially covered, but if I just do this, I suppose that looks a little bit better. And if I do that, comes up to here, and then okay. Yes, those potentially look like they match with perspective, which is about as close as I can hope for. Okay. What other areas need details? I suppose I can draw in the sleeves. Let's start around this point. Oh. Looks like Nightbot actually banned a bot for once. Good job. Alright, yep, that's fine. You, focus on your studies there. My streams are ancillary. Alright. I think that's just about enough detail. Ah, I should draw the... is it the end of the sleeve on this hand as well? Covers the ring finger. like this. Alright. Okay, I think I'm prepared to move into coloring at this point. Stretch my fingers a little bit. Can I drag things now? I can. Okay, so that was an only issue with my first stream. Okay. So then, time to just take some color picks. That's not color. Okay, color layer should also be below the outline layer. Okay. Oh, it is so much easier to color in the lines when I have fine motor control over where the color is going. This is actually the first time that I have done proper coloring with my tablet. I did do some very sketchy coloring when I was working on the drawing to celebrate Ina's 700k special. That wasn't quite to the level of what I'm doing with these. Oh, it almost feels slightly childish to celebrating being able to color within the lines. It's very satisfying. And there's probably far easier ways of doing this, such as the ever-elusive masking of layers. I should probably look up tutorials on how to use CSP effectively. I feel like I might. That might be something that I spend the rest of my day doing after I've finished streaming. I am also realizing, I notice I didn't say this, but I can just get the outlines since that's fairly easy to draw. Oh, I say fairly easy and then I immediately color outside of the line. But if I just get the outlines done, then I can just fill it with paint bucket. And because of how I'm using this, instead of coloring as one massive line like I did with the mouse, it's a lot easier to just undo simple mistakes. Right. Ah. I forgot to consider the fact that fill bucket doesn't take into considerations the narrow lines caused by Having a brush that's got slight edges to it, that's fine. It's easy enough to go back and fix. There we go. And now I can work on shading, because it's not all dark red. The fringes are a very light pink. I wonder. No, I was going to say, should I have done the outline in the light pink, but then I realized that the outline includes the top of the head as well. I think I actually... I'm switching to my mouse for a little bit because I actually need to move layers around and all that. So if I just bring this over here, I can get a reference on where I need to be coloring. Okay, so first things first. I'm going to add a little bit more definition into the center portion of the hair. There we go. Because there are... Oop, I need a smaller pen. There is some amount of definition in this. Why isn't it drawn? Ah, it's on eraser, that's why. There we go. So there are subtler lines like this one. I think I just need to make all of the definition of the hair slightly lighter. Let's see, if I... Yeah, I think if I just head over it with a slightly large enough blend brush... Oh no, that just fades it and makes it transparent. I was hoping it would. Let's see, I think a sufficiently light eraser might do it. If I do this... No, that just also makes it slightly more transparent. I just want the lines to be a bit thinner. Well, perhaps I'll just call it artistic style. Yes, add a couple more lines of definition to this, to the hair, because the shading of it follows the partings in the hair. There we go. Okay. And that's probably enough, those 2 additional lines. Okay, so it's lighter around the lines. And it stays dark in the center. afterwards, I'm going to take the blend tool and mix these in together so that it looks a bit less harsh line. In fact, I'm going to go to the softest layer of brush. This is looking relatively good. I need to soften the interior a bit more, perhaps. So yeah, I think most of the problems that I'm running into will be solved by blending colors. This larger section of hair is almost entirely pale. Coloring tends to be the portion of drawing that I've noticed where I talk the least in. So if I suddenly hit large pockets of silence, I apologize for that. Right, and the tip of the hair is lighter on the bottom strand, so it's sort of the opposite of what it was like above. Alright, and once again, this section of hair, almost entirely pink. I guess this is something to talk about, but I've been considering exercising slightly less restraint on Twitter because of how I present myself. I tend to not use any images while I'm talking, but I do have a rather extensive collection of images to use in conversation, so I feel like I might break that mold a little bit. Because I often find that people are far more responsive to engaging in things that have some form of media component to them. It's also very odd because I often say that I'm satisfied with where my growth is, but I feel like it's almost the duty of a VTuber to try and expand. It's very confusing to me. I'm fine with what I have right now, but I always feel like I'm not doing what I should be doing if I'm not trying to do better than what I have now. It's very odd to me. Alright. Time to blend this section of hair slightly more. Blur, perhaps? Set that all back. Yes, so these colors should be mixed. Fingertip, perhaps? Ah, I think this is actually what I want. I previously haven't used the fingertip tool very much because on mouse it's far too analog to actually serve any useful function. But now that I have a lighter touch, it's far more useful. I think this just about matches the aesthetic of the original. There's lots of very small strokes. I don't want things to get too messy. But back to what I was talking about earlier, about feeling like I need to grow. That also extends to the content that I am producing. It feels like I should be striving for much better content, which I definitely should. But my creativity is fairly limited. I wouldn't say I have no ideas, but it's very difficult to consider what I could do to be separate from what everyone else is doing. Especially since becoming a VTuber in and of itself is fairly going with the crowd. There's so many people that are becoming or have become VTubers. Okay. I think I may have gone a bit too dark straight out of the gate for the base color of the hair. I think that should have been a shading color. Alright. I'm gonna make this brush a lot smaller. I'm drawing hair strands at this point. I probably should have been doing this from the start. Perhaps I will go back in and make the hair look a bit more strand-like. Actually, I've just noticed that I'm drawing the connection point in the wrong area. Holding down the undo button works very slowly. I would have expected it to start speeding up after you've held it down for a while. Okay. There we go. So the connection point's actually around here. I think I'm also running into an issue where I have a hard outline on something that doesn't have a hard outline in the original. At the very least, it doesn't look horrible. It's at least marginally recognizable as what it's supposed to be. Okay, so now let's see if I can't get an even darker color so that I can... Okay, no, that is the darkest color. Okay, so I am... Oops. I'm actually going to take a lighter portion of the hair, let's say this, and just do that. So now I can use the darker shade that I had been previously using for highlights, because I accidentally selected the darkest portion of the hair. Yeah, so now I can create lines in the hair and have it look like hair. Who would have thought? I do have a noise gate on my microphone, because otherwise my typing is very clearly audible through it. But I do almost hope that my pen strokes can be heard. It's very satisfying for me to just ever so slightly hear around my headphones. I don't know how strong my microphone is, directionally speaking, because it's pointing towards me. It doesn't have, at least I don't think it picks up sound in the back. So it's in the exact opposite direction where it would be able to pick up the sound. It's a very soothing noise. Alright. I can't exactly draw the loose hair strands with any real amount of detail, unfortunately. So these are going to have to be fairly compact buns. Now, I'm just going to add in some slight lines so that it's not just blurred together, but it's also hair textured. I don't know that that looks worse or better. I've already committed a bit too far to back out now, though. So hopefully it looks better. Alright, but that is hair done. Okay. Back to mouse so that I can move this out of the way. Where are options? There we go. Okay. So, I think Skin tone shouldn't be too hard. It appears to be fairly consistent throughout. I'll just have to touch up on details like the areas around the eyes afterwards. But for now, I can get a... I don't need a brush that large if I'm just coloring it around the outlines. So I just want to outline everything. And then I can fill tool. And then erase the parts that need to be. Perhaps I could try my hand at some impromptu shading and put a shadow under the neck. I feel like I should do that. Okay, if I just complete this, since all of my coloring is on the same layer, because that's what Aqua said that they do, is they have all of their colors on the same layer. So if I just try that out for this drawing and I just fill... No, there's an open line somewhere. Where is the open line now? I suppose it's where the hair connects with the skin, since I'm not going through the line very much. Alright. Oh, I see the problem here. Time to just hold undo, because everything I drew was on the wrong layer. It was all on the reference image layer. Oh well. At least I get to experience the joy of tracing lines again. I just had a thought. I should probably be using harsher edges on my brush, because when I fill, there's probably going to be... Yes, I can just ever so slightly see the outline that was left by the faded color. It's no real hassle to clean up, but still some slightly unnecessary work. Right, now clear out the areas that don't need to be colored. Actually, you know what? That should be colored in white. Or at least the same color as the whites of G's sock size. So I'll just get the exact white color. And use that instead of erasing. That way, if I want to put a background color or image on this, then it won't show through the eyes. And then after this, I can go back to the outline layer and get rid of the portions of the eyes that don't need to be outlined. I remember I was talking about that earlier when I was drawing the eyes, but I have yet to go back and fix. Alright. So, now to the outline layer, to the eraser. I believe it's the bottom portion here that isn't colored in. So right at the edge here. Also that little bit there that I just sketched on. Yes, all portions of the eyes are fairly sketchy. Just probably clean that up as I'm working. Oh, I don't need a brush that large. Let's go back down to 10. I think that's what I've been using fairly consistently. Darken what needs to be darkened, complete lines that need to be completed. Alright. I believe the pupil should be a slightly different color. I just did that so that it didn't look like a blank eye. Okay. And the under eye here is a red color. So if I just pick reddish pink at the very least. So if I just pick that, and this is going to have to go on the outline layer so that it can cover up the outline that's already there. So I believe it was the under eye makeup GSOC called it last time. Okay, how does that look? That might be a bit heavy. I'll thin out the interior. I was just trying to cover the outline completely. But other than that, it looks pretty fine. Does that look about the same? Well, I am no makeup artist, that is for sure. Let's see. So the lashes actually curve to the back. Not as straight down as I was drawing it. Perhaps a harsher brush as well. Maybe not absolutely harsh, though. These are very thin items to draw. That. Slightly shorter. Alright. And she has a bit of blush around this portion of her face, I think. Also, I need to I'll just do this now. I'll include the moles or beauty marks that she has underneath each of her eyes. There we go. Alright. Starting to come together. Okay, so now I just want to color in the base of the other eyelash. I don't necessarily need to do any of the lashes themselves since it disappears into the peripheral. Okay, and now I can go back to the color layer. Let's get some eye color. Oh, very thankfully, her eyes are mostly just one color. A lot of the art that I've done has had eyes that are multiple shades. It's nice to have one that's mostly just a fairly light teal. Though I think there was some amount of gradient in it, so I will get that as accurate as possible. I also want to make sure that there's no skin color left in the eye. That would just be kind of unsettling. Yes, so the gradient that I was saying is around the pupil. It's slightly lighter there. Okay, so if I just draw in a pupil on the outline layer, let's darken this. It looks like there might still be some skin tone left in the eye because of the lightness of the brush. I'm just going to make sure that's all completely filled in. Okay, so if I go back to the outline layer and draw in the pupil, then I can just blend around it without worrying about getting the pupil blended in with it. There's fairly slit-like pupils. Very vertical slit-shaped pupils, not rounded. Okay, and if I just color pick back to this teal and make it lighter, I think that's what I want to go with. Yeah. Oh. I very specifically did this so that it wouldn't be on the outline layer, so... And that was the mistake that I immediately made. So back to the color layer. The outline of the pupil to be lightened. Okay. That's just about enough definition. Right, and now the horn is a very dark red. I'm going to grab that and just color that in. Oops. I don't need to bother with fill bucketing this. It's small enough that it doesn't necessarily matter. There we go. Okay. Oh, I was just about to say I'm done with the head, but I forgot to color in her ear. Bring the size back up, I can do that now. I'm not drawing individual strands of hair anymore. Right, and now I can color more skin. So now I'll just get to work on the shoulders. What day of the week is it right now? Thursday? No, it's Monday. So that means that... See, I was specifically thinking about the art shows that I watch online. So that means that Drawfee should be posting a new episode tomorrow for Tuesday. And if I'm remembering correctly, Ina's drawing stream got moved to Wednesday. So I've got both of those to look forwards to, I suppose. I have considered drawing along to Ina's stream in my stream, but I feel like that would be a bit too much. I don't feel like... I just feel like there's some form of breach in etiquette by doing that. Watching someone else stream while streaming yourself. Especially if you're performing the work-along activity of that other person's stream. But that does mean that I have been considering doing sketching practice streams. Instead of drawing full completed artworks, just getting something that I can sketch in a single stream instead of doing completed artwork that takes multiple streams. That's definitely a possibility that I have on the table. That's also the method that Drawfee said to do in order to practice drawing. So I think that's something that I will probably attempt in the future, is sketching streams. See, I'm trying to remember the processes that they said to follow in the art guidance stream or art teaching stream that they did a couple months back. It was something to the effect of drawing from reference and then using that drawing from reference to draw from imagination by overlaying your own ideas on top of the sketch that you've just made. Alright. Oh, I have an extra line here. This line doesn't exist on the outfit. And if I'm not mistaken, based on the reference picture that GSOC sent me, and almost just based on looking at this image in reference, the dress itself is fairly backless up until it meets up with this skirt. So that's something that I need to change a little bit about my line art at this point. Ah, I have the line too thick. Set it down to 8, I suppose. Okay, so if I do this, and perhaps, no, that line should be there. Okay. Yeah, I believe her top is fairly low cut. Not low cut. There's probably a better word to describe it that I can't think of. Okay. But that's starting to look a bit more correct. Okay, I'm just about done with getting all of this skin colored in at this point. Ah, I need to put fingernails on this hand. GSOC very specifically has nail polish. I thought my stream just died for a second. Every now and then, the stream that I have running on my laptop buffers a little bit, and it worries me that my stream has gone down every single time. Let's see. Oh. Good morning, Mitts. Welcome to the stream. I just hit a lull in conversation with myself, and I was trying to think up a new topic. Yes, I am. Finishing the art. So I tried to take a bit of a tip from Aqua, and I'm doing all of my coloring on the same layer, and it's not really impacting it's not negatively impacting anything, so it's probably the style that I'm going to stick with for future. But I'm also finding it very easy to color within the lines now that I'm not using my pen, not my pencil, but my mouse. Well, unfortunately for this one, I guess you're just gonna have to cry, Mitz. As I've gone too far on a single layer to start separating them now. It's just so much easier to color with a tablet. This tablet's just made drawing so much more fun. Yeah, I have been using Fill Tool, but I see you're leaving fairly quickly. I assume you have some sort of obligation to take care of, so I hope you enjoy yourself wherever you end up. See. My conversation points have been fairly dead for a while now. I'm trying to think of any new topics that I can start with. Viewer participation is encouraged if you want to ask me any questions. But for right now, let's see, what can I talk about? See. This is a topic that I've been meaning to bring up, but starting in the middle of next month, I will be attending classes, which means my streaming will probably become a bit less regular. I'm not sure how specifically or how dramatically my schedule will be affected by this, but there's no chance that it's going to be none. I've been a bit too free recently. I haven't had any major obligations for a little while, so getting back into a schedule is going to be a bit of a change for me. However, it may finally force me to schedule my streams ahead of time instead of simply starting them whenever I feel like. I also see that there's a couple of lines from the fill tool that I didn't catch, being further away from the canvas. Alright, and it's going to be especially difficult to see on this teal section for the leotard. I'll just do a quick sketch around where the outline would be if I could see it. I sort of just assume that after I've picked a color, it will automatically move it over to the pen, because I don't really have any other point in picking another color. I wonder if that's a setting you can change. I should probably move things beyond default settings. It's just a bit nervous to start changing settings like that. Ah. See, the interior skirt is actually pleated, so I should work on that detail before I get to the point where I need to color it. Okay, so for pleating, I've done pleated skirts before. Once before. So hopefully I can do it again. Okay, but if I just follow what I did the first time, it's just a series of rectangles that you then cut the base off of. And then, since the line art isn't quite as severe, I also want them to be consistently spread out. But since the line art of the original is less severe, I can't make the pleats going up the skirt too defined. Alright, so now if I just erase these interiors, and I also need to continue, oh, yes, okay, it is still on the pen. Continue the line of that diamond so that it goes through the pleat. I think one of the more interesting things about, or that I find about drawing, is causing perspective on something to change. So making what look like rectangles in the original drawing turn into what become bumps on fabric. I enjoy how removing a few lines in something can cause its appearance to dramatically change. Changes from the drawing it was a moment before. That's progress. And I did actually make these lines uncharacteristically thin for the line art. I'm gonna wanna bulk those up a little bit. Get things consistent. Okay, now I can just add some additional lines to show that there is pleating here. Perhaps I should have been working to better angle the rectangles so that the pleating would naturally follow the correct curves. Doesn't look that bad though, the way it is now. Okay. Yeah, and I'll just color in the interiors slightly darker in that case, so that it has shading to it. Okay, so I'm going to hold off on specific details like these strings for now and just focus on getting the base colors in. Alright, this is... I have to zoom in again. Zoom in fairly close. I wonder if I should do the trick where I put a colored background on, because it's easier to use a colored background. Yeah, I will. Okay, what layer should I put this on? And just make a new layer for the background. And just fill bucket it in. Let's see what color isn't being utilized in this. Green. Oh, that's too light. There we go. Bright green. Yes, now I can see areas where I have missed while coloring. Oop. So, little bits of the chest. Sections of the face as well are missing. Yes, I guess working with softer brushes tends to leave areas slightly transparent. Okay, there's probably some way to fix that. Yes, I probably should have done this sooner. This is pointing out quite a few areas where I missed coloring. it's fine. Nothing a little bit of cleanup can't solve. I guess something else to bring up is the voice lines or the quotes that I was thinking of posting on Twitter. Like I said there, I'm probably just going to continue with excerpts from the book that I'm reading. However, that is subject material that is specifically interesting to me. And I don't want to just be making content for myself. I would prefer it if other people also were able to enjoy what I created. So I am still very open to any suggestions, and I believe I will probably remain open to suggestions for as long as I am considering doing that. But it's very difficult to get suggestions when there aren't any replies. I don't know. I wonder, maybe I'll work on doing another one of those later tonight. After I've finished looking at tutorials for CSP. Every time I say the acronym for Clip Studio Paint, CSP, I keep thinking that I'm accidentally saying CPS, which is Child Protective Services. I would rather not make that mistake. Alright. Perhaps I should be doing this with a brush that has a solid outline so I don't keep having to go back and color in the thin line that's left over from the fill bucket. Because it's honestly just doubling my workload. Because it practically forces me to run the outline of whatever I'm drawing twice. So I'm just going to harsh up the brush the next time I'm drawing an outline. I would like to talk about linguistics or something like that. However, I'm not quite intelligent enough that I can just do that off the top of my head. It's mainly an interest in linguistics rather than knowledge about linguistics. So I will research anything at the drop of a hat. But I don't specifically know very much. I just find it fascinating. Alright. Let's see. I believe the... Oh no, I think the leotard and the skirt may be the same color. Potentially. feel like this is starting to come together. Yes, hard brush. It's not a masterclass, of course, but I'm at the point where I'm starting to feel satisfied with how well it's turning out. Oops. That's far easier. I should have been doing this from the start. It's just so easy to fall back on performing tasks in an analog method rather than complicating the matter with steps that I don't entirely understand. Let's see, what other topics are striking my fancy nowadays? Let's see. What have I been doing these past few days? Not terribly much. Right, I've been playing a substantial amount of Monster Hunter in my free time. I still want to move my account over to PC, so I know GSOC said they were going to be lurking, but I don't know if that means they're still listening. But I'm still open to playing Monster Hunter at some point. Anything else? Guess I can just talk about Monster Hunter from now on, or for a little while. I doubt I have enough to talk about to fill the rest of this stream. We're actually coming up on the time that I was going to be stopping, which is 5 o'clock my time, so that's a bit over half an hour from now. It's entirely possible that I could talk about Monster Hunter for the rest of this. I guess I'll start with the types of weapons that I use in Monster Hunter. That's a relatively interesting topic, I suppose. Let's see, so the first weapon that I used in Monster Hunter was the Greatsword, which is sort of the poster child of the franchise. And I do still enjoy Greatsword. It's not my best weapon, though. Let's see. I'm trying to think of the amount of hunts. I've looked at my hunter card fairly recently. I'm just trying to remember the amount of hunts. Greatsword is the highest because it was the first weapon that I used, and I used it fairly consistently in the beginning. I don't know that I used many other weapons at that point. As for other weapons, Lance is pretty high up there. most of the weapons that you can perform counterattacks with are fairly high on my list. So that's the lance and the charge blade. It's probably a lot easier just to describe which weapons that I don't use, which would be the heavy bowguns and the switchblade. That's about it. I sort of just don't like that the switchblade has no defensive options. There's no shield, there's no inherent dodge benefit. You walk fairly slowly when you're holding it. You just feel a bit too vulnerable while using it, I suppose. Let's see, I also don't use the dual blades very much for fairly similar reasons. The only reason that they ever so slightly edge out the switchblade is that they have a very good movement speed. I also stopped playing Monster Hunter for a while, around the time that Iceborne came out. I bought Iceborne, but then I just sort of fell off of Monster Hunter. I enter periods of time where I'll typically drop games for a fairly extended period of time before finally getting back to them. Oh, my cat just showed up. So he's probably gonna move. Oh, he pressed some buttons. He probably just wants to get to his bed right now. Yep, there he goes. He's just sitting next to me right now. I feel like I could probably also describe the layout of the room that I stream out of. I'll do that at a later point when I'm not actively drawing something or I have more active viewer engagement, and there's some of my recurring viewers like Mitz or GSock or Aqua in the chat. Because as far as I know, none of them are watching right now. Mitz was here but left earlier. Aqua was busy with stuff, but they came by. GSock has classes. I guess I just chose a fairly poor time to stream today. I guess it is a Monday. People would be pretty busy around this time of day. Okay, so back to Monster Hunter then. Let's see, probably the next clip, or not next clip, but next weapon up on my tier list, going up from the bottom. It's probably Sword and Shield. I don't have anything against it. It's just very light. I prefer the weapons that feel heavy, which is why I took a liking to Greatsword so early on. It's difficult to go off of memory. I can't quite remember what weapons there are. In a pinch, and obviously the middle section of any list is the one that you're least certain about. So remembering specific details about it is a bit tricky for me. Okay, right. I need to add in, because there are details on the skirt that I was going to draw in afterwards in the colored layer. So I need to get the colors for those in. just going to very lightly sketch these in before I go in and color them in any sort of firm lines. I'm just sort of dabbing them into place. Alright. Now if I thicken these lines and firm them up, perhaps I should be using a softer brush for this. It looks relatively fine, though. It does also need to hit some sharp corners at the peaks, so... that's fine for having a low, what is it? Anti-aliasing on the brush. And then just a bit of the beginning of a line on the other side. I've also realized that the outline has an incomplete section to it. I just need the black there. Moving back to the pen is probably the first thing that I need to fix. I also realize I can move my microphone higher so it's closer to my face now. So apologies if moving it caused any noises. Right. I just noticed that the hand has some transparent pieces to it. I'm gonna fix that. There. That's better. Okay. Back on the topic of Monster Hunter because I keep getting distracted away from it. It's definitely one of my favorite games. I don't know what that has to do with anything that I was talking about it before, but I do very much enjoy it. It was a game that I was always interested in, but I never had any method of playing it until Monster Hunter World came out. Because I never owned any of the consoles that it was on previously. So I always admired it from a distance. I always thought that it would be a game that I would enjoy. And very fortunately I was proven correct when Monster Hunter World came out. But I never had anyone to play with me, and I always saw the co-op portion of Monster Hunter as being a fairly big drawing point for the franchise. So having the chance to talk with people who actually own the game and could potentially play it at this point after becoming a VTuber is very nice. It's probably the reason that I've been playing it so much now, just to get back into the hunting spirit. And I also want to be able to play Hunting Horn. I played Hunting Horn single player, and it's obviously not nearly as useful, but it's still very fun for me. I enjoyed it quite a lot. But also this was something that I was going to bring up when I was talking about how I stopped playing Monster Hunter for a while when Iceborne came out. Was they introduced all of those new mechanics into the game. They made the slingers a far more active role in your toolkit, and I never got the hang of any of those features. So hopefully I'll be able to do better with that now. Okay. Now I think I should be able to fill bucket this, and it'll only get the stocking. Ah, it worked. I knew I said that it would probably work, but I didn't actually have faith in that statement. Oh. Undo that for sure. Alright, now we'll just grab this. You can color in the skirt. Right, and hopefully I can actually finish this. I'm actually somewhat hopeful that I can get this done before I end my stream for today. Actually, you know what? I'm filling an outline that doesn't need to be filled. In fact, I'm just going to darken the interior of the skirt. So now, if I just fill bucket this, yes. I think that worked. I didn't have it entirely in view. Yeah, that worked fine. Okay, but now, time to shade. Now, the question is, do I shade properly? Or do I just color? And I think the answer is I color. I'm still not quite good enough to properly shade things, I suppose. So I'll settle for making the indented pleats a slightly darker shade. It's looking fine. I could probably do this a more accurate way. Or a more artistically correct way, but I may as well stick to the skills indicative of my level. And that's flat coloring. Okay. But that shade isn't going to cut it for the interior of the skirt, which should be quite a lot darker. Let's see, which spectrum? doing that doesn't work. I just need this color to be darker, but I don't want to change the color. Yeah, that's not anywhere near dark enough. Alright. So time to color pick that. I'll just do the shading on the skirt itself. There we go. Just so long as that I get the coloring in the edges, it shows that this is slightly raised. If I continue it along this side, just ever so lightly, I think on this side as well. Because of perspective. Okay, I think that's fine. Progress is being made, for sure. But I'm not going to be able to finish this by the end of today. There's too many small details that I still have left to work on. Which is very unfortunate. I was hoping to be able to get to Aqua's drawing on the next stream. Okay. This looks like it's round about the correct color for a shadowy interior for the dress. I keep switching between calling it a skirt and a dress because it's sort of both. It's kind of unclear which one's more accurate though. See, I wonder, is the lower portion of a dress called the skirt of a dress? That seems like it would be correct terminology, but I am not very familiar with the terminology used for women's fashion, so I don't know myself. This seems plausible. Okay. Right, something else that I wanted to do was add a bit of lip shading, since I have starting to run low on time. I'd prefer to get some smaller details in before working on any major portions. Oh. I lost the color pick. I think by pressing undo, yes, I also undid that. I thought undoing might reset the color pick that I did, but alas, it was not to be. Oh, hello, sad penguin. Yes, the lace on the hems. Yes, I was planning on ending the stream. Well, I need to end the stream shortly, in around about 15 minutes, so I was just going to fix some small details at this point. Not fix, but just add. Okay, this looks like it could potentially not look great. Yeah. Let's see, how does it look? Oop. Okay. I probably also want to soften the brush. Just add a little bit of color to the lips. Don't want to go overboard. Okay, that looks better than what I had before. Okay. Alright, I suppose I'll add details to the sneakers at this point. But these are probably the area that I have the least correct in the sketch form. So I'm just going to add the straps. That was a very loud car that just passed by. I don't know how audible it was, but it hurt my ears, that's for certain. Okay, actually, GSOC sent me a better reference picture that specifically has the sides of the shoes on it, so that I can see what they look like. Very complicated is the answer. I'm just going to zoom in on it. I'm not going to download it and move it over, because this isn't a reference image that GSOC has made public, so I don't know that they want me to put it on stream. So I'm just going to keep it hidden for now. I think the aspect ratio of that's going to change, yes. Unfortunately, that's something that I'm going to have to live with. Alright, so... I guess it doesn't look terrible on stream, so... First things first, I'm actually just going to go back to the outline layer and change a lot of the things in the side view. So, the soles of the shoe are very thick. like this, and then down like that. I can actually erase the interiors of the shoes. All it's doing is getting in my way at this point. Okay. And then on the back half, there's this sort of shape. Ah, I did that all as one line. I'm falling back into old habits again. Probably because I'm starting to rush and get flustered. Alright. And from the back side, has this sort of shape. Ugh. It's very difficult to, actually, you know what? If I just flip it horizontal, then I can actually match the reference image, because the reference image faces the opposite direction. That's suddenly made this several times easier. I was trying to think about how to flip a web page until I realized I can just flip the drawing itself. Why is that not going away? Isn't this part of the outline? Is it on color? It is, okay. Alright. And I guess despite all of my best efforts to make these shoes as bulky as possible, they aren't bulky enough. Because there's a good few inches or centimeters of shoe that should be around here. I suppose I can just do something like this. Just to raise it up a little bit. And get rid of the extra skin that's now become part of the shoe. Alright. And the strap comes across this portion here. Slightly more of a diagonal angle. But there's not much I can do about specifics at this point. Alright, and I probably won't add on any of the text, because I think that would probably be a bit too much for the room that I have to work with. I am able to get most of the straps in, so that's fine. Okay. And that's one shoe blocked out. But I do still need to color it. And, I guess that's only the inside of the shoe as well. There isn't a specific reference for the other side of the shoe, so perhaps it's simply blank. Alright, well, I can full screen the Clip Studio Paint again. And I can also unflip it. Right, and now I can just color in the shoe. And perhaps I can finish the other one as well. Were I so fortunate? Alright, I guess I could go back to the topic of Monster Hunter. As long as that well hasn't been milked dry. I should also go back to that. Oh, that was a Malifor if I've ever said one. As long as that well hasn't been drained? I know that's a turn of speech, but I can't seem to think of the correct phrasing for it. You milk an idea dry, but not a well. What happens to the well? I don't remember. That's another thing that I find amusing. They're called Malifors, and it's a metaphor that you get wrong. Or it's a metaphor combined with another metaphor in such a way that it doesn't make sense. For instance, one of my favorites is "we'll burn that bridge when we get there," which is fairly obviously a combination of "we'll cross that bridge when we get to it," as well as burning bridges, the idea that you cut all contact or potential relationships with someone or some group. Hence you burn the bridge. That's another thing that's fairly interesting to me, is metaphors in general. Because there's something that are very much not shared between cultures a lot of the time. So anything that you may think is common sense to say may be very culturally specific and something that other people don't pick up on easily. For instance, just going off of the top of my head, the term throwing hands refers to starting or picking a fight with someone. However, if you were to translate that literally, throwing hands is the act of taking a hand and throwing it. And you need to be familiar with the the language specifically to be able to recognize what's being talked about. Okay, we've just passed the 5-hour mark, so I'm going to have to call it there for today. It's been a great stream. Oh, I noticed my view count just went up by 1, but I'm afraid it's a bit late, and I'm going to be calling the stream here. Thanks for potentially giving a shot to the stream, though. I'm just about done with this art piece. I'll definitely be able to finish it the next time I'm streaming artwork. And then hopefully after that I can move on to working on Aqua's piece. But for now, that's all for me. I'm going to send everyone to the end card. Oh, and I should probably also raid someone if I have anyone that's streaming right now. Creamy is streaming, so I will send everyone over there. Make sure you're all being polite and on your best behavior. She's playing Fatal Frame 2 right now. So if that's something that you're interested in, we will be heading out momentarily. Let me just finish setting things up. I will throw us to the end card, and then we will raid. Alright. Have a good day.